Alright guys, so in this awesome video, I'm going to show you how to make a hot wire cutter so that if you've got a bit of foam and you need to cut it, it's going to be super easy. So let's crack right into it. Alright guys, so this here is neodymium wire. This wire is a high resistance wire, so when you pass electricity through it, the electrons have nowhere to go, which heats up the wire, which makes it good for cutting foam. So all you got to do to make a hot wire cutter is get this and connect it to two sides of the battery. As it turns out, I already have this. I made it for my table saw, but I decided it's not really good enough, so we can use it for this, which is great. So let's put some wheels on it, and then if you're not using it, you can push it out of the way. So this here was part of my shop upgrade. How awesome is that? When you need your hardware, it's all there ready to go. Hopefully you can tell that I'm excited because it's great. So here, need some screws, boom, love it. How good's that? There we go, so the wheels are on, look at that. Now, because I don't have much space in here, I can move this out when I need. So now for the cool bit. This is how I'm going to build the hot wire cutter. I welded up this frame here. And that's going to go on there just like that. So as you can see, this is going to be a really solid base for the hot wire cutter. It's going to give me consistent results because the wire's all going to always be the same tension. It's going to be awesome. So I welded this up. We're going to screw this down and then we're going to have a super solid foundation for the hot wire cutter. As you can see, it's always going to be there. You can adjust the angle. It's going to be perfect. So let's screw this on and move on with the next step. See, how good is that? Yes. So obviously this is metal, which means it's going to conduct electricity. So what I've done is I've put a red electrical tape along the top here, and I've wrapped it around, and I've also wrapped it around this little piece here, which is going to slip over that. So what that means is if the wire is wrapped around here, it can be adjusted, which would be great, and it's not going to pass electricity around, which would short circuit the whole thing, and that will blow up my controller, which I'll show you in a minute. So that's going to be a safety measure, and I'm also going to use this metal clip here, and that's going to be screwed onto the bottom of this beam here, so the wire can be tied onto that easily. I'll just tech screw that in, and I'm going to put washers on either side of this, and this is powder coated, so even if this tape fails eventually and I don't notice it, then the bottom should still be good anyway, and it is painted. So I think we're pretty good. Yeah, and of course you are actually short-circuiting the battery anyway by putting the wire around, if that makes sense. So that's why it gets hot. So I'll screw this in, and then we can stick the wood on. This here is where the wire is going to go through. I just drilled a hole for the wire and then I used a scalpel to cut a little groove for this washer and epoxied that in flat, so this is perfect. So when you're cutting a piece long, perfect, and it's not going to be burning into this wood here, and there's one on the bottom as well. Just thought I'd show you the electronics I'm using. I've got a car battery and that goes in this side, so negative and positive. I've got a switch here so I can turn it off. And then I've got a controller. This is a PWM controller. This controls the current because it's the current that makes the wire hotter. That's what the guy at Jaycar told me, but I'm sure the voltage also will make it hotter. So you can kind of use either way, but basically here, I just connect this up and I can go like that. It says it changes the voltage from 10 to 15. So basically when I turn this up, it's going to give the wire more power, and then I'm going into this box here. So I've got the input into the box and the output out of the box. And this will tell me the voltage, the current, and the watts, and I'll show you what else it does. And then I've got a fuse, just because if this shorts out, it stops working, which isn't actually, I think it's this. This also stops working if it shorts out. So that's not good. And then the end of that, I've got the two wires, they're a bit longer, and then I've got these two leads, so they'll just clip onto the neodymium wire. Now I'm not sure if this is really the best way to do it. From my tests, it looks like the voltage of this, when it goes below, I think it's, what is it, 5 volts, it doesn't work. So it doesn't really, the display just flickers on and off, which means you don't have a very good display. So I think really you can see how hot the wire is just from looking at it, and then you can just put your alligator clips up and down on the wire to change the temperature. That works better, and then you don't really need either of this. This was like 40 bucks and I think it was like 30, so you could probably do this really cheap just using the battery and just the alligator clips, and then you don't even need a switch because you can just disconnect it from the battery, right? That's what I would do. But I think I'll try this again once I've set it up. this is just what the guy at Jaycar gave me. You can use a speed controller if you into remote control stuff, and then you can just change the speed of the like what you'd use to change the speed of the motor. But I think really the best way, just use the alligator clips. Once it's together, I'll show you how it works, and we'll see if this is a good way to do it or not. But this is what I've got, so let's try it. So attaching this, I think there's many different ways, double-sided tape, hot glue, you name it, screws. But because I want this to be flat, I think what I'm going to do is use liquid nails. I got this ages ago and I thought that's going to come in handy one day, and I think today's the day. So let's attach this. I don't think it's coming off anytime soon. Pretty solid, we'll see. I should have read this first. It said initial bond in 24 hours and 7 days to cure. Oh, okay, I need to use that today. That's fun. I'll just cut a bit of wood that can go here, and then I'll put some sides on so I can just chuck scraps in there and store foam and stuff like that, because otherwise it's just a waste of space, isn't it, really? Make a little unit, little trolley for foam cutting. When this is in use, the wire is going to heat up, which means it's going to stretch, which means it will become floppy. So when you're pushing the foam through, you want it to stay tight so you get a straight line. If the wire is flexy, then it's going to move to the side and you're not going to get a very good cut. So my way around that is to use springs. I got this lovely little box of springs from Jaycar for $20. If you're going to get some springs, get them from Bunnings because they're half the price of Jaycar. Now what I'm going to do is use this spring here, so that's going to go up the top there. And I was thinking, how am I going to attach this? And I think the best way is cable ties. So I'm sure one of these guys is going to hold it on there pretty well. And then the neoprene wire, you wrap that up through and just wrap that around the bottom of this. And that's going to be nice and tight. So just need to thread this wire down. So I unroll it, feed it through the hole, and tie it off from the bottom. And then at the top, we'll tie this onto this loop here. So there we go. So now you can see I've got a bit of wire here. Now I just run either of these wires along the top and onto this neoprene wire at the top. I'll tape that on in a second. And then the negative one I'm using, but you could use either, can go down underneath, and you just connect that to the wire on the bottom. So now I just connect my battery to the other side of this controller, and we're ready to go. So we turn on the on switch, grab a bit of foam, and you push it through the wire kind of like this. Perfect. Now you want to change the heat, you turn up the dial, it goes like that. You can create whatever shape you need. Perfect cut. Look at that. Just like a jigsaw puzzle. Pops back in. Perfect. Look at that. And then if you don't want it perfect 90 degrees, you can just go at any angle like this. You can just put it through like that. And chop little bits off. You want to sharpen the corner, go like that. And it's still nice and tight because the spring's holding it. And it isn't hot above the cable. So yeah, that's all ready. I'll show you the controller. So here's my little display. It shows you the voltage. So it's 12 volts, 2.2 amps. That's useful. And here's the dial. So if I turn that down, you can see that should change that. So now it's gone down to 5. But if it's at 5 volts, it doesn't actually work very well. So you've got to turn the voltage up. And that changes the temperature of this here. And then if you want to turn it off, you got that. That. In fact, that is the perfect temperature. Super quick, super smooth. So obviously we got some pretty bad fumes coming off this. I could go outside, but if it's raining or something, I do have this Ozito fan here, which is battery powered, 2 speeds, pretty awesome, and you can plug it into DC. So now I've got some ventilation, and I can cut away. The benefit of this is, look how well this works. Just adjust it like that. Now, if I want to cut on an angle, go like this. And I got an angle cut, I can reproduce easily. Nice angle, and you can always just freeform like this. But yeah, you can see that works great. This foam is super cheap, you get it from Bunnings, $20 or $10 a sheet, depending what thickness. You can glue it together. Maybe I'll make another video soon on how to make stuff out of foam, how to finish it, how to glue it, how to stick it, how to sand it, and all that stuff. So yeah, lots of awesome stuff coming. Oh, if I can get it out. How good is that? Look at that. So there we go, guys, look at that. Finished table, all ready to go. You see I've mounted the battery on the bottom. I've got a box for the scrap foam. Mounted the control board here, so all I need to do is flick it on, turn up the dial, got heat, grab a bit of foam, cut the foam, scraps in the bin, turn it off with the switch, wheel it away. Spring worked out great, super happy with that. I could not be happy with this project. Thanks for watching. If you like this awesome video, give it a like. If you learned something, give it a comment down below. Subscribe and notifications so you don't miss other awesome videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.